Smoke is rising over the Persian Gulf. The USS Gerald R, one of the most advanced warships on the planet, just experienced a serious fire on board, originating in its laundry spaces. 2 sailors are being medically treated and reportedly in stable condition. Off the coast of Basra last night, a US-owned cargo ship flying a Marshall Islands flag was struck by an Iranian unmanned surface vehicle. There is new footage showing the moment of impact. Oil prices are surging, the stock market is tanking, and the President of the United States is on social media this morning, telling you that all of this is, and I quote, a very good thing. 2 sides, 1 catastrophe. On one side, a superpower that launched a war it cannot finish. On the other, a regime that was supposed to collapse in days, but instead is hardening, adapting, and building alliances with Moscow and Beijing. 2 powers more than happy to watch Washington bleed out on the world stage. The architecture of American global leadership, the alliances, the credibility, the economic stability, is fracturing in real time. Not over years, over days. And the man in the Oval Office is not scrambling to fix it. He is celebrating the wreckage. In the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly what happened in the last 48 hours. Why every move Trump has made has strengthened his enemies instead of breaking them, and why the geopolitical world you are living in right now looks fundamentally different from the one that existed 2 weeks ago. I have 3 receipts. I have Senate testimony. I have the footage. And once you see the full picture assembled in one place, you will understand why this is not just a military crisis. It is an American unraveling. Stay with me. Imagine you have a business partner. This partner picks a massive fight with your biggest competitor, drags your company name into it, burns through your joint savings at $11 billion a week funding the brawl. And then, when everything is on fire, he posts online that the fire is actually great because it is keeping you warm. How long do you stay with that partner? How many clients does he have to alienate? How many deals does he have to torch before you cut him loose? Hold that thought, because that is exactly what Donald Trump is doing to the United States and every single ally still foolish enough to stand beside him. Drop your answer in the comments. At what point does loyalty to a leader become complicity in their destruction? Let us rewind the clock. When the first strikes on Iran began, the American public was told this would be swift, decisive, and surgical. The regime in Tehran would buckle, the military infrastructure would crumble. The Iranian people, we were told, would welcome the pressure because they hated their own leaders. That was the pitch. That was the promise. Here is what actually happened. Nearly 2 weeks of relentless bombardment by the United States and Israel. Attacks on energy grids, attacks on desalination facilities, attacks on oil depots. The skies over Iran turned into something approaching a nuclear winter. Thousands of civilians dead. And after all of that, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter who spoke to Reuters, US intelligence now indicates that Iran's leadership is still largely intact and is not at risk of collapse anytime soon. Not buckling, not crumbling, hardening. Every bomb that falls on a civilian neighborhood, every missile that strikes a school or a water treatment plant, does not weaken the regime. It gives the regime exactly what it needs: a population that stops questioning its government and starts rallying against a foreign enemy. This is not speculation. The top NATO allied supreme commander in Europe, General Grinkovich, confirmed exactly this in Senate testimony today. He told senators that attacking civilian populations historically hardens resolve. He cited the London Blitz. He cited Ukraine. And then he confirmed something the Trump administration has been desperately trying to bury. The United States hit that elementary school in Manaban, Iran. 150 girls, 185 people total, dead. And the administration tried to cover it up until a 4-star general looked the Senate in the eye and said it under oath. So cut out the cover-ups. That is where we are now. Now let me show you the 3 receipts that prove how badly this is spiraling, and why nobody in Washington appears to have a plan. Receipt number 1. The Strait of Hormuz and the collapse of credibility. Ships are being attacked in the strait at an alarming rate. 14 struck in total, 3 on one day, 3 the day before. Iran's new supreme leader, Ayatollah Moabba, in his first public message to the Iranian people, declared that Iran will continue using its leverage over the strait and introduced the possibility of opening entirely new fronts where, quote, The enemy has little experience and will be vulnerable. Meanwhile, Energy Secretary Chris Wright's own department posted on social media that the US Navy was escorting commercial ships safely through the strait. That was false. It never happened. The post was deleted, but not before it moved markets. People lost real money on a fabrication from a federal agency. Wright admitted to it in a hearing, calling it a miscommunication and taking what he called full ownership. But here is the part that should alarm you. The United States does not currently have the capability to escort commercial shipping safely through the strait. And yet, a government agency told the world it was doing exactly that. This is not a miscommunication. This is a government that has lost control of its own narrative, while simultaneously losing control of the most critical oil choke point on Earth. Oil prices are through the roof, and Trump posted that this is wonderful because America is the largest oil producer in the world. Short-term pain for long-term gain. Chris Wright tells you with a straight face. Tell that to the family paying double to fill their car this week. Receipt number 2. The alliance collapse and the Russian meeting. While American ships burn and American credibility sinks, look very carefully at who is in the room and who is not. Russia sent its envoys, including the head of Russia's direct investment fund, Kirill Dmitry, along with senior official Ushakov, to Miami, Florida, to sit down with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They did not discuss Russia's role in helping Iran attack American allies. They did not discuss Russia targeting American interests. They did not discuss getting Russia out of Ukraine. The talks, according to the Kremlin press service, centered on increased economic cooperation and a further rollback of sanctions on Russian oil. Let that sink in. Russia is actively assisting Iran in a war against the United States, and the Trump administration responded by flying Russian officials to Florida to discuss giving Russia economic rewards. On a G7 video call, French President Emmanuel Macron finally snapped. He declared publicly what others had been whispering. Nobody can tell what Donald Trump's strategy is. Nobody knows what the objective is. Macron demanded answers. What is the plan? What is any of this for? No answer came because there is no plan. NATO Ambassador Matthew Whitaker appeared on regime media, and when asked about Russian support for Iran, said there is no public indication the Russians are participating, and that Russia told Witko they are not helping. So the official American position is now this. Russia says it is not involved, and we simply believe them. While inviting Russian officials to Miami for sanctions relief talks, Washington was not leading that G7 conversation. Washington was the subject of it, and that silence was deafening. Receipt number 3. The propaganda war America is losing. Iran, China, and Russia are not just fighting with weapons, they are fighting with information, and they are winning decisively. The Iranian embassy at the HEG posted a memorial to the 168 schoolchildren of Manaban, calling those responsible the most evil people on earth. Iran released a propaganda clip mocking every American denial. We did not hit the school. America does not even have Tuk missiles. We care deeply about the Iranian people. The sarcasm cuts deeper than any press briefing Washington has ever delivered. China is piling on while Trump prepares to visit Xi Jinping, so he can review Chinese soldiers and feel tough. The Chinese embassy in Washington is openly mocking his administration on social media. And Trump? He posts that Iran's national soccer team is welcome to the World Cup, but he does not believe it is appropriate for their own life and safety. Read that again. He blew up an elementary school. He called all Iranian people menacing and nasty. He has turned their skies dark. And now he is threatening their soccer team. You do not defeat a regime by giving it martyrs and propaganda material on a silver platter. You give the new Ayatollah exactly what he needs to rally a nation of 80 million people against you. This is what losing an information war looks like, not with one devastating blow, but with 1,000 cuts of self-inflicted ridicule, while your own government cannot even keep its social media posts honest. If this story is connecting dots you have not seen assembled anywhere else, you are already ahead of most people watching this unfold in fragments and sound bites. Hit subscribe right now. We are approaching 7 million subscribers. This is moving faster than any single outlet can track. And when the next piece drops, you need to be here. This story is accelerating, not slowing down. Here is the contrast that defines this entire crisis. Most leaders who start a war have an exit strategy. They have coalitions. They have a theory of victory that extends past the first week. Donald Trump has none of that. He has lethality. He has Pete Hegseth talking about raining death from the sky. He has crater footage and a social media feed that reads like a man who confuses devastation with strength. Now look at what his adversaries are doing. Iran's new Ayatollah thanked his regional proxy forces and promised new fronts in areas where the US is vulnerable. Russia secured a sanctions relief meeting in Florida while its partners attacked American allies in the Gulf. China positioned itself as the responsible power on the world stage while America bombed schools. While Trump posts, Iran strategizes. While Hegseth talks about kill counts, Russia quietly locks in economic deals in Miami. While Chris Wright deletes fabricated tweets about naval escorts, China builds the global narrative that America is a declining empire run by a man who cannot keep his own agencies honest. Trump is not fighting a war, he is performing one. And every performance strengthens the coalition forming against him. You do not break a regime by turning its country into a wasteland, while its leadership sits intact, underground, untouched. You do exactly what General Grinkovich warned about under oath. You harden their resolve. You hand the Ayatollah the greatest recruitment tool he could ever imagine. That is not strategy. That is the total absence of it. So what does this actually mean for you personally? It means $11 billion a week of your tax money flowing into a war with no plan, no coalition, and no exit ramp. It means oil prices surging while the president tells you to feel grateful. It means 172 million barrels drained from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve with vague promises about replenishment within a year. It means every alliance America spent decades building is under strain it has never experienced. NATO partners openly questioning the relationship. South Korea losing its THAAD missile defense systems, Taiwan not receiving the military aid it was promised. Arab nations in the Middle East watching their supposed protector create the very chaos they needed protection from. And here is the part that does not reverse. Once a global supply chain reroutes around American instability, it does not come back just because a president changes his tone. Once allies build defense partnerships with other powers because America pulled the Patriot batteries, those partnerships become permanent. The damage is structural, and structural damage does not heal with an election cycle. Let me give you 3 scenarios for where this goes next. Scenario 1. Managed de-escalation. Whatever adults remain force a cool down. A back channel opens. Some face-saving arrangement emerges where the US claims victory, Iran claims survival, and the bombing stops. Oil prices stabilize, markets partially recover, but the structural damage remains. The broken alliances, the empowered adversaries, the dead children, none of it rewinds. The alternatives built during the crisis, new trade routes, new defense arrangements, new information alliances, those become permanent features of the global landscape. The relationship survived, but it will carry scars for a generation. Scenario 2. Global realignment. Other nations draw the obvious conclusion. You cannot depend on this Washington, possibly not any Washington. More countries hedge their bets. More bilateral deals get signed without the United States in the room. Russia and China formalize their support networks into a parallel architecture. America remains enormous, still powerful, but no longer the unquestioned center. This scenario is not hypothetical. It is already underway. Scenario 3. The escalation spiral. This is the one nobody wants to name out loud, but it is sitting right there in the room. Iran opens new fronts. Proxy operations expand across the region. The Strait of Hormuz becomes functionally closed to commercial traffic. Oil hits levels that trigger a global recession. Trump, constitutionally unable to accept anything that resembles retreat, doubles down. More strikes, more civilian casualties, more global isolation. And somewhere in that spiral, a miscalculation occurs. A strike on something or someone that cannot be walked back, and this war stops being regional. With a president who has no strategy, no coalition, and no advisors willing to say no, this outcome is far less unlikely than anyone in Washington wants to admit. Here's what I know for certain. The relationship between the United States and the rest of the world will never look the same after this. Even if every bomb stopped falling tonight, The lesson has been learned by every capital on the planet. You never put all your strategic eggs in one basket. You build alternatives. You hedge your bets. Because the most powerful nation on Earth just demonstrated that it can be captured by a man with no plan, no impulse control, and no comprehension of the machine he is operating. Iran did not do this to America. Donald Trump did this to America. The new Ayatollah did not start this war, but he is proving very effective at surviving it and at making sure the entire world watches while America stumbles. The question is not whether the damage has been done. It has. The question is whether we have crossed into territory where the word superpower needs a permanent asterisk next to it. Did Trump destroy American credibility? Or did American credibility destroy itself the moment it handed the presidency to a man who treats geopolitics like a social media feed? Is this war a projection of strength, or the most expensive display of strategic incompetence in modern history? Drop your answers in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe because the next chapter of this story, the Strait of Hormuz escalation, the G7 fallout, the Senate hearings, the next Iranian front is coming fast. This story is not slowing down. Do not look away. This content is commentary and analysis for formational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or geopolitical advice. Consult qualified professionals before making any decisions based on the topics discussed.